A Zippy history of zoos. What's new? The zoo! Are you ready for a trip to the zoo? You might think that zoos are new, but they've been around for thousands of years. That's right. We have always loved to look at elephants, giraffes, gorillas, lions, and so much more. "4,400 years ago, the Sumerian city of Ur in present-day Iraq. The king of beasts lunges and roars. The king of Ur roars right back, feeling like the ruler of all nature. How delicious to wield his power over dangerous animals. It's the world's first known zoo, and all we're sure about, from clay tablets and libraries, is that it has lions." 3,500 years ago, in present-day Ethiopia. Queens prize wild animals, too. Egyptian pharaoh Queen Hatshepsut already has a lifetime supply of gold, so she sends ships down the African coast to trade for what will make her appear even mightier: expensive leopards, cheetahs, greyhounds, exotic birds, and a most mysterious giraffe. 3,000 years ago in China. Can animals make you smarter? Yes, says Emperor Wenwang, deeming his vast zoo the garden of intelligence, full of yaks, turtles, goats, alligators, and possibly giant pandas. This is where he contemplates nature. Animals are believed to go back and forth between the human and spirit worlds, so it's a sacred space. 2,400 years ago in Greece. The Greeks leap ahead in understanding animals, learning how they differ from each other, how they reproduce. Wise Aristotle, the scholarly son of the royal doctor, spends endless hours in his private zoo. He studies monkeys, talking parrots, and so many other creatures that he's able to write the history of animals, our first encyclopedia about them. 2,300 years ago in Alexandria, Egypt. Named for Aristotle's most famous pupil, world conqueror Alexander the Great, the grand city of Alexandria has a library to end all libraries, and a zoo to end all zoos. When the animals stroll past its stadium, it takes on an entire day. 96 elephants, 60 wild goats, 300 exotic sheep, 24 lions, 16 ostriches, a python over 30 feet long, and thousands of dogs, oxen, and oryxes. About 30 BC, outside Rome, Italy. Rich Romans cocoon themselves in their country villas with the best of all status symbols: private zoos. One scholar named Marcus Terentius Varro has a zest for birds, building a domed hall with separate aviaries for talking starlings, songbirds, and peafowl. At lavish dinners, lucky guests sit in the center of the hall and listen while they eat. About 790 AD, France and Germany. With the fall of the Roman Empire, hundreds of years pass with little news for zoos. Then, Emperor Charlemagne starts collecting animals from other rulers. The Caliph of Baghdad sends him a big surprise: an elephant. How many royal zoos does it take to show Charlemagne's greatness? 3, and his animals live in better conditions than most people. 1271 in China. Kublai Khan wants to prove he's no mere Mongolian warrior, so he collects tigers, boars, lynx, porcupines, falcons, civets, and deer, animals worthy of his new status as the Emperor of China. He keeps 10,000 white horses at his Xanadu summer palace as he adores their milk. 1513 in Rome, Italy. Pope Leo X attends a nice little zoo to which smart rulers send gifts. One day, Hanno the elephant arrives from the Portuguese king. She disobeys the order to kneel. Instead, she dips her trunk into a fountain of holy water and sprays everyone, including the Pope. The 1500s, present-day Mexico City. Aztec Emperor Moctezuma II spares no expense in housing his pumas, jaguars, sloths, armadillos, llamas, poisonous snakes with bells attached to their tails, and birds. A whole palace just for them. It takes 600 men and women, in addition to a staff of nurses, to care for the largest zoo of its time and one of the largest in world history. About 1580, Afghanistan and India. Akbar the Great treats his 1,000 cheetahs more kindly than most people of his time. To care for them and the other animals he befriends, he builds zoos much grander than any in Europe in the lands he conquers. At the entrance to each zoo, he posts some advice. Meet your brothers. Take them to your hearts and respect them. 1735 in Sweden. Thanks to new trade routes in the Americas and Asia, European zoo collections grow much more diverse. At the Swedish Royal Family Zoo, a scientist named Carl Linnaeus classifies animals into species with his system of nature. The book gives a jolt of energy to the scientific revolution by establishing a whole new branch of science, zoology, which deals with animals. (1749) Versailles, France. The people of France crave traveling spectacles, and Clara, the most famous rhinoceros in history, journeys all the way from India to spend 5 minutes wowing them. 5 months. She stands 6 feet high and 12 feet around, and she weighs 6,000 pounds. But King Louis XV lets Clara nibble roses from his own royal hand. In 1827, Paris, France. So that's what a giraffe looks like, say the French upon glimpsing the new gift from the Egyptian ruler to King Charles X. The giraffe takes a sensational 3-day walk from the docks in Marseille to her new home in the Jardin des Plantes Zoo. Wearing a waterproof cape, she steps through fields of sunflowers, pine forests, orchards, and vineyards, accompanied by 3 cows that provide her milk. She inspires songs, poems, paintings, products of all kinds, and even a tall new hairdo, a la giraffe. (1835) in London, England. The Industrial Revolution erects tall buildings and ugly factories, making people long to get back to nature. They escape to the world's first modern zoo, open only to scientists at first, but then, in 1846, to anyone who can afford the penny fee. Ordinary families flock to see Tommy Chimpanzee, who took the night coach from Bristol on the last leg of his journey from Africa. The folks in town are nearly wild to go and see the monkey child, declares a popular poem. 1838 in London, England. Jenny the orangutan is even more spellbinding. Who is that man studying her as he plays harmonica and gives her a mirror and lets her taste a peppermint? It's Charles Darwin, about to become famous for his new ideas on biology. Jenny acts precisely like a naughty child, he observes. 1865, London, England. Jumbo the elephant is gigantically popular, as well as just gigantic. He gorges on vast amounts of whiskey, onions, apples, and cakes, and grows to weigh 6.5 tons. Years later, when American P.T. Barnum buys him for his new circus, 100,000 children write Queen Victoria begging her to stop the sale. (1862) Melbourne, Australia. Somehow, a city no longer seems like a proper city unless it has a public zoo for amusement and entertainment. When the city of Melbourne is only 27 years old, it starts up a zoo advertising for anyone coming to Australia to bring animals to it. But it's the local creatures that draw the crowds. Kangaroos, emus, koalas, wallabies, and hairy-nosed wombats. 1875, Kolkata, India. The Alipore Zoological Garden in Kolkata opens with donations from private animal collections. It has gazelles, antelope, and a snake lab for testing antidotes to poisonous venom. But after many years, certain animals become hard to find. To help with this problem, this zoo is one of the first to breed white tigers, not to mention short-spined porcupines, agoutis, mongooses, and lemurs. Indian leader Mahatma Gandhi later declares, "The greatness of a nation can be judged by the way its animals are treated." (1889) Washington, D.C. The United States National Zoo becomes the first to proclaim a goal of protecting those native animals that were threatened with extinction so that they might live and perpetuate their species in peace. But money is limited in its early years. So, the zoo depends on donations of raccoons, possums, and other not very rare animals that people no longer want. 1898 in South Africa. Black and white rhinos, so very scarce elsewhere, still thrive here because South African President Paul Kruger creates a reserve to protect them. A century later, Kruger National Park will have too many rhinos and will send hundreds to live in zoos elsewhere. (1907) Near Hamburg, Germany. Carl Hagenbeck has long bought and exhibited animals, but now he has a new idea for an animal paradise. Wild animals are no longer inhumanely locked away. Instead, they're separated from people by clever moats, artificial rocks, trees, and hedges. Ecstatic viewers have the illusion of gazing at panoramas of Africa with deer grazing, flamingos flapping, antelopes and zebras playing, a cliff for vultures, and wild goats in the distance. Zoos around the world rush to imitate the first zoo without cages. (1907) New York, New York. 15 very confused American buffaloes stick out in the crowd at Grand Central Terminal. They've come from the Bronx Zoo to board a train to Oklahoma as part of a program to prevent buffalo from disappearing in the West. It's a turning point in zoo history. The first time that endangered animals are reintroduced into their original home. And it works. (1964) Tokyo, Japan. Shimmering goldfish and jellyfish calm visitors to Japan's oldest zoological complex, the Ueno Zoo. 1,000 gorgeous cherry trees surround its wild ducks, penguins, Komodo dragons, and Japanese cranes with their red crowns. (1978) Seattle, Washington. Kiki and the other gorillas at Woodland Park Zoo climb into their new home, uniquely dense with real plants and trees. Some visitors complain that the zoo is so lush they can't see the animals. But, like many zoos now, this one displays animals not for show, but for scientists to learn how gorillas act in their natural habitat. These gorillas become so playful and peaceful that they give scientists new ideas about what gorillas are really like. 1981, outside Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Brazilian scientists working with the United States National Zoo began a program to rescue golden lion tamarins from extinction. In 2 years, the number of these velvety little monkeys in captivity explodes from 80 to 370. Then, scientists began reintroducing them into forests. The goal is to reach 2,000 in the wild by 2025. (1995) Bali, Indonesia. More and more, zoos are places that protect animals. One of the rarest species of all, the tiny Bali starling, lives here at Bali Bird Park. This sanctuary shelters rare birds from Indonesia, Latin America, and South Africa, including birds of paradise, serpent eagles, and the hyacinth macaw, the largest parrot in the world. 2009, San Diego, California. Yun-Zi, or Son of Cloud, is born under cloudless skies at the San Diego Zoo, the 5th rare panda born here. He starts munching bamboo and will become a cuddly-looking giant, one of the most popular animals ever. All throughout history, zoos have been built for so many reasons. To make important people feel more important, to satisfy our longing for contact with nature, to educate, amuse, and entertain. To make us gasp with awe, to study and protect animals. Whatever your reason, visit a zoo today. Listen to the lions roar. The end. Please subscribe.